Think about this for a second. How much energy, like actual energy, do you spend each day sort of managing your image? The little edits you make before you speak, or maybe downplaying something you're proud of, avoiding certain topics altogether.
Yeah, the constant monitoring. It's like wearing a mask, isn't it?
Totally. And it's exhausting, this feeling that if people really saw us, the messy parts, the uncertain parts, we just wouldn't be accepted.
That fear of judgment, of not belonging.
Yeah.
It's incredibly powerful and kind of universal, really.
It is. But what if we could put that weight down? What if we could live with a bit more freedom, more authenticity?
That's the core question, isn't it? How do we move from that place of hiding, that constant self-editing, towards something more open, more brave?
Exactly. And that's actually what we're digging into today. We're looking closely at Brené Brown's incredible work, specifically her book, Daring Greatly.
Ah, yes. Daring Greatly. How the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. Such a foundational text.
It really is. And it's not just opinion, right? It's built on years of solid research into these really human experiences. Vulnerability, shame, connection.
Absolutely. Brown's work is grounded in qualitative research, real stories, real people. She connects the data to life. And Daring Greatly gives us this framework, almost a map.
Map from hiding to showing up.
Pretty much. From hiding to engaging fully, authentically with our lives.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We want to pull out some key lessons from Daring Greatly tools, really, that can help you, listening right now, move toward more self-acceptance, more courage to just be seen.
Sounds good. Where should we start? Maybe with the big one. Vulnerability.
Let's do it. Because vulnerability often gets such a bad rap, doesn't it? We equate it with weakness.
We absolutely do. But Brown's research completely flips that idea. She argues, based on the data, that vulnerability isn't weakness at all. It's actually the core.
The core.
The core of all emotions. Think about it. Can you really experience love without making yourself vulnerable? Or joy? Or belonging? Or even creativity? They all require a degree of openness, of potential exposure.
So when we try to shut down the bad feelings, the fear, the disappointment,
we inadvertently numb the good stuff too. We numb joy, connection, love. You can't selectively numb emotion. It's an all-or-nothing deal, psychologically speaking.
That's huge, because our culture does seem to prize being tough, unaffected, almost bulletproof.
Right. And Brown points out this fascinating paradox. She says, vulnerability is courage in you and inadequacy in me.
Say that again?
Vulnerability is courage in you and inadequacy in me. We admire it when others are open and honest about struggles.
Yeah, we see it as brave. Inspiring, even.
Exactly. But when it comes to our own vulnerability, suddenly it feels like inadequacy, like proof we're not good enough.
Why is that? Why the disconnect?
Well, it seems to boil down to that fundamental fear of disconnection, of judgment. Seeing someone else be vulnerable, we connect through empathy. But thinking about us being vulnerable triggers our own fear. Will they still accept me if they see this?
That makes sense. It reminds me of her story about the TED Talk.
Oh yeah, classic.
Here she is, an expert on connection, about to go on this massive stage, and she's terrified of being, emotionally naked.
Right. But she realized that genuine connection required her to be vulnerable. It wasn't optional if she wanted to truly reach people.
And that question she asked herself, what's worth doing even if I fail? That just reframes everything, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It shifts the focus from risk avoidance to purpose. What matters enough to you that you're willing to show up for it, even without guarantees, even if you might stumble?
Think about that in your own life. Maybe a time you put yourself out there, shared something tough, went for a job, started a creative project.
Even if it wasn't perfect, chances are something meaningful came from just the act of doing it right. That willingness to be seen, warts and all.
Yeah, definitely. And that leads perfectly into the next big idea, doesn't it? This concept of choosing courage over comfort, stepping into the arena.
Ah, the arena metaphor. Inspired by Theodore Roosevelt, of course. It's so central to Daring Greatly.
Explain that a bit. What does walking into the arena really mean?
It means choosing to engage, to participate fully in your life, your relationships, your work, your passions, rather than just, sitting on the sidelines judging or critiquing.
Being the critic is definitely easier sometimes.
That's
risky.
Much easier. It requires less vulnerability. But the arena is where life actually happens. It's where connection is forged, where growth occurs, where we actually do things. It means showing up even when it's uncomfortable, even when failure is a possibility.
And what stops us? Often it's that feeling of needing to be perfect first, right? Like, I can't start until I know exactly what I'm doing, or I can't be vulnerable until I've fixed all my flaws.
Exactly. The myth of perfectionism. Brown calls it a 20-ton shield. We think it protects us, but really it just keeps us from entering the arena.
And from sharing our gifts, maybe.
Absolutely. Waiting until we're bulletproof, which, let's be honest, never happens.
Right.
Means we miss opportunities, we hide our talents. Brown is very open about her own struggles with this, that desire to control everything, to avoid vulnerability at all costs.
The key insight here is that just showing up is the brave part. Even if you're trembling, even if you're imperfect.
That is the courage. And here's the thing. Every time you do it, every time you step into that arena, you change a little. You get a bit braver. You build that muscle.
That resilience muscle.
Precisely. And you need that resilience because inevitably, in the arena, you're going to encounter difficult emotions, like shame.
Ah, shame. Okay, let's talk about that. It's such a heavy word and often one we avoid.
We do. It thrives in silence. Brown's research defines shame really clearly. It's not just guilt, which is about behavior. I did something bad. Shame is about self. I am bad.
So it's that intensely painful feeling
Of believing that we are flawed and therefore unworthy of love and belonging. That's the core of it. The fear of disconnection because of who we are.
And it's universal.
Completely universal. Her research identified, I think, 12 common shame categories. Things like appearance, body image, money, work, parenting, health, addiction, aging. It touches pretty much everyone.
Wow. And the less we talk about it.
The more power it has over us, it isolates us. It convinces us we're alone in feeling that way.
So how do we fight back? Is there an antidote?
Yes. And it's not about never feeling shame again, because that's impossible. It's about building shame resilience.
Shame resilience. Okay. What does that involve?
It's basically the ability to practice authenticity when we experience shame, to move through it without letting it shut us down or define us. It's a few key parts.
Okay.
First, just recognizing shame when it shows up. Understanding your personal triggers, what situations, interactions, or messages tend to activate that feeling for you.
So awareness is step one.
Crucial. Second is practicing critical awareness. Questioning the unrealistic expectations from society, from family, from ourselves that often fuel shame. Where did this message that I should be perfect come from? Is it realistic? Is it helpful?
Right, deconstructing those messages.
Exactly. And the third, and maybe the most powerful element, is reaching out. Sharing your story, your experience of shame with someone you trust. Someone who can respond with empathy.
Not judgment.
Definitely not judgment, empathy. That Me Too response, that feeling of being understood and not alone, is incredibly healing. It literally counteracts the isolating nature of shame. There's even research suggesting sharing secrets or expressive writing about difficult experiences has tangible benefits for our well-being.
Just naming it, sharing it, takes away its power.
It really does.
Yeah.
It brings it out of the darkness. And it's also worth mentioning briefly that shame can manifest differently based on gender expectations sometimes.
Oh.
Well, the research often finds men might experience shame tied to perceived weakness. The don't be weak mandate. For women, it can be more complex, often involving navigating these impossible conflicting expectations around appearance, caregiving, career, being perfect, but also modest. It's a tightrope.
Understanding that helps build empathy too, doesn't it? For ourselves and others.
Absolutely. We're all navigating this stuff.
Okay, so as we kind of pull these threads together, we've talked about vulnerability not as weakness, but as the source of courage and connection.
The birthplace of positive emotions.
We've talked about choosing courage over comfort, daring to step into the arena of life, even when it's messy and imperfect.
Showing up, that's the key.
And we've explored shame, the universal feeling of unworthiness, and the power of building shame resilience through awareness and connection.
Right. Recognizing it, reality checking the messages, and reaching out for empathy.
These aren't just interesting ideas, are they? They feel like tools for living differently, more wholeheartedly.
That's exactly what they are. They offered a path toward living with more authenticity, more courage, and ultimately more connection and joy. It's about embracing our imperfections as part of being human.
And it's a process, right? Not a switch you flip.
Oh, absolutely. It's a journey. Be gentle with yourself. Daring greatly isn't about arriving somewhere perfect. It's about the practice, the ongoing choice to show up, be seen, and live bravely.
So maybe a final thought or a challenge for everyone listening?
Oh yeah, how about this? Today, just today, I challenge you to dare greatly in one small way.
Okay.
Maybe that means sharing something you usually keep hidden, reaching out to someone, admitting you don't know something, or just choosing to do something that feels a little scary but important. One small step into the arena.
Choose courage over comfort, just for a moment.
Exactly. Take that small step toward showing up authentically. See what happens. See what it feels like to allow yourself to be truly seen, even in a small way.